Hey, gang. My name is Carl White. I'm your host here for the next little bit here as you listen to Loan Officer Freedom, number one podcast in the world today for loan officers based upon the reviews and the downloads. So we sincerely appreciate it. And my co-pilot, or maybe I'm the co-pilot on this, and I think that's probably more applicable. I'm going to be your co-pilot here. And the pilot in command is a very dear friend of mine for quite a long time. Kory Kavanewsky. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, Carl. It's nice to be here with you, and yeah, thanks for having me as part of the podcast.
I think I want to take a different twist to this, what I had in mind. I had all these great questions, and I think I'm going to do a little different twist on this. So Kory, so Kory is a branch manager located in the San Diego area. How long have you been doing this, Kory? How long have you been in the loan
I
officer?
entered the mortgage industry late 2002, so a little over
So
20 years. Yeah.
a while. So you and I both, we've been doing this for a pretty good time. And just for and I think a lot of people know who you are. You've certainly been on here a handful of times, and you're certainly industry. I know you're a real humble guy. I don't like to think of this, but you're industry famous in our genre of loan officers. On your not your team, but just your own personal production. Like where are you at for, like, as we're recording this, it's the middle of July. What did June look like, or what's July looking like? You can pick either one.
Yeah. Well, July, I don't know exactly, but June, I closed about 24 million in personal production, and it was right around 45 units, in total
My
funded units
man,
for me personally.
just for the month.
For the month of June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could certainly go down that, and brother, we might end up doing more than just one episode, which I love having you on. But I think what I want to dive into a little bit, we had a little bit of we were kind of catching up a little bit before we hit the record button. And I think I want to take a different twist on this. I want to like kind of get in the mind of, you and I were talking before we hit the record button, that both of us, we love listening to or reading biographies and autobiographies of people of greatness. And brother, I know you're just an incredibly humble person, and might have a hard time at looking yourself as a person of greatness. But brother, anybody closing 45 units, and that's not a fluke, like that's kind of an ongoing number for you, brother, that's a person of greatness. I mean, that's really impressive. So I think I want to dive a little bit more into like how do you position yourself to do that kind of thing? How do you, like, I want to start off by how do you make it so that becomes your norm? Like, how do you make it in your mind, not just the activities per se, but like in your own mind, to wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you go, by God, I'm a 45 loans per month loan officer, give or some months more, some months somewhat less, but in that ballpark. Like, how do you, a lot of people struggle with, like, who am I? And I see myself as closing, one or two or three or four, and that's kind of where we keep ourselves. How do you wake up with a mindset that I'm a 45 units per month loan officer? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I don't think I wake up with that mindset. And I think that's probably part of what drives me. And I mean, if you ask anybody that is really close to me, they'll tell you that, I'm kind of more come across as pretty hungry, actually. I mean, I really kind of keep myself pretty hungry. And I think, like a lot of, salespeople and loan officers, particularly loan officers, because the market is cyclical and the sales kind of come and go sometimes if you're not careful. I kind of wake up every day going, like, all of those loans are going to cancel, and how am I going to replace them? So I'm not, I'm an optimistic person, but I'm not overly confident, and I don't count my chickens, too early. And so I sort of wake up each day going, okay, I've got to hustle today. I've got to work hard today. I've got to make sure that I do my very best today. Otherwise, tomorrow could look really bad. And, this is both a blessing and a curse for me, I believe, because it keeps me in this sort of, I need to do everything perfectly all day, every day, in order to be, half the success that I want to be. And at the same time, it doesn't let me rest much, and it doesn't let me look in the mirror and go, hey, you're a 45 unit a month guy. I don't look at it that way. I look at it like every day I'm applying for 100 new jobs, and I better bring my best. And it's worked. So I guess it's good in some respects, but it can wear on you a little bit too, if I'm being honest.
And I appreciate it. Where does this hunger come from? Like, where is it that are you trying to prove something to yourself or to other people, or did you grow up wealthy and you're trying to, keep in the status of the family line, or like where does it come from?
No, I don't know. I didn't grow up particularly wealthy. I think that for me, I just always want to make sure that my future is secure, and that my family is secure. And I don't know. In the back of my mind, I'm kind of, and this is going to maybe make me seem like I'm just paranoid, but in the back of my mind, I'm just always thinking about what if tomorrow something really changes, bad, whether it's, I'm not saying like the world is ending, but bad things happen to good people. People get sick and they didn't expect it. People were underprepared for pandemics. Things happen, right? And so in the back of my mind, I just always want to know that my family and I are safe and secure no matter what the world might throw at us tomorrow. And how do you plan for that? If you don't know what bad could look like, then how do you plan for that? Well, I think you just do your darn best to make sure that you don't ever look back and have regrets and say, God, if I had just worked a little harder, if I had just been a little smarter, if I just made these decisions a little differently. So that's kind of how I operate. And I guess a large part of that is from going through 2008. If I go back to 2008, I managed through it, but it was a tough time for sure. In 2006, I arguably overextended myself in terms of a home purchase, and everything was going really well, and I was prepared enough. But 2008 came along, and I thought, geez, how long am I going to be pulling money out of my savings account to live? And luckily, I had made some good choices prior to that. But when you don't know how long it's going to be like that, it teaches you a lesson, and that is that there isn't really a such thing as being over prepared. So I'm kind of just every day kind of going, okay, I've got to be ready for the next storm, whatever that might look like. That keeps me hungry.
How do you sharpen your sword? How do you so in your case, how do you keep, like, is there any kind of ritual is not the right word, but like, do you listen to a lot of books, or do you listen to a lot of podcasts, or like how do you keep your sword sharpened?
Yeah, I do both of those things. I don't listen to a lot of books, but there are people that I find fascinating. Typically, just people that have that are out there sharing their story about. The one that gets me the most is the type of story where someone kind of came from maybe nothing and made it into something magnificent. Those are fascinating to me. I watch many of the podcasts that you put out there. I mean, even so, when I first got into business, I did so much of that, and I still do it now. And here I am doing a podcast, right? But I mean, we have so much to learn from each other. As you know, I coach with the Marketing Animals, the Freedom Club, and I coach other loan officers, and the kind of running joke almost sometimes is, I give to them and I get from them, just by doing that coaching. So, I don't by any means in my own mind think that, I've got it all figured out and that I can't somehow gain, more or learn more from other people, regardless of their production, regardless of their number of years in the business. I'm paying attention to what other people are doing, and staying engaged. And those things have helped.
So have you hit like on your on your trek to having a pretty impressive income and mortgage business that you have now, has there been a roadblock in the past that you that came across your path, and if so, how'd you overcome that roadblock?
So, I mean, the first one that comes to mind would be, I think, 2016, which is actually when we met. So if I'm getting my years right, 2016 was a pretty good year in the mortgage business, but I was really worried about 2017. I was worried because I thought, okay, I look back at my 16 business and it was like something like 70% of it was refinance. And I think I did something like 140 million dollars in business. And so kind of like today, people were, congratulating me and talking about how great it was. And my mind was just kind of like, why are we even talking about this? Because it's done and I've got a lot of work to do in order to keep going, So I actually, and this is going to sound as if we've set this up, but this is not the case at all. This is a raw question, but I reached out to your group and to you specifically and said, I'd like to talk with you about how I can make some changes, because in my own mind, I thought 2017, I may be out of the business. That's really where my head was, which is, to most people who are in our business, they would say to me, you're absolutely nuts, because you're, whatever, top 50 or something, in the industry and production, and you're thinking that somehow you're going to be out of the business. Yeah, I don't dismiss that idea. I don't dismiss that possibility. I don't today, and I didn't then. And I said, okay, I know I need to make some changes, because if 70% of my business goes away, in other words, the refinance business shuts off, because rates are up. Well, by the way, purchase business will likely also slow because of higher rates. So where am I going to be? And that's where my head starts spiraling, right? And so I connected with your group, and it literally changed my career. It changed my life. It changed how I handle every single day. It changed the business that I have, and ultimately it allowed me to do nearly $600 million in production in 2021 and in 2020. And those two, each of those years. So nearly $1.2 billion in those 2 years. And sure, everyone did well during those years. We know that the wind was at our back, but some did better than others. And I was in a position to truly take advantage of that at the highest level, largely because of the things that you and I implemented. So to me, that was a roadblock. I know many people would say doing 130 million in a year is not a roadblock, but to me, it was. My business was at risk, and I knew that I wanted to take it to a higher level. I knew I needed to make some changes, and I knew it wouldn't be easy, and I didn't know exactly what to do. And I overcame that largely by connecting with you.
Do you, I think a lot of people, anytime I do these interviews, I always try to put myself in the mind of the listener, and somebody that's doing like 3 or 4 loans a month, which we all were doing at some point.
Sure.
Right?
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're thinking, how in the world do you have the time to do to do, at least in their minds, you and I know it's not, but at least in their minds, 10 times more. Like, do you have a to-do list that you have on a day-to-day basis, or like, do you, like the night before, hey, here's what I'm doing tomorrow? Like, how do you keep things organized in that fashion? This is what I need to do next.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the single biggest change that I made, which relates to this question, is I went through, what I was doing on a daily basis. I listed it all out, and I mean, every single thing, have a sandwich, run to the restroom, check voicemail, deliver a document, run AUS, all of this stuff. And it's just, it was absurd, right? I mean, over 100 things that I wouldn't necessarily do every day, but I might do in a day. Okay. And this is an exercise that you actually had me do it, right? And it's marketed now, as the Acts of Freedom, right? So it was such an eye-opening thing for me. And it's such a basic thing, by the way. It's so basic, and I don't mean to discredit, what you did,
but it is.
But I mean, it really is, right? It's like, look, my job the organization I work for is to do one thing. I'm a loan originator. That's my job. It's to originate loans. There is no plaque for the guy who ran the most AUSs. There is no plaque for the person. There's no compensation for the guy that did the most credit repair, right? It's to originate loans. And if you look at the daily activities that I was doing, and that frankly most, I would go so far as to say 90% plus of the loan officers in our industry today, they are running around doing everything for everybody, and their day is dictated by that day. It's not, there's no plan at all. It's just largely we'll see what the day brings, and we'll hold on for dear life and hopefully make it to 6 o'clock, or whatever. And yeah, so my day now is really just doing what I call loan consults. This isn't someone, if someone's doing 3 loans a month right now, they can't just jump into doing only loan consults, but you might do a couple of things. You might do, loan consults and realtor prospecting. And I mean, honestly, if it's not one of those 2 things, then you are not doing your job. You might as well be at the beach, in my opinion, because you are doing things that are not what you're supposed to be doing. The analogy I give to the people that work for me is, if you're a loan processor, you should not be mopping the bathroom floor. Now, look, the bathroom floor might need to be mopped, and you are capable of doing that. I get it, but that's not what you're here to do. So even though you might be doing something that you think is helpful or is good, and that you can do well, it's not why you're here. And I am here to originate loans. So I focus on the couple of things that, involve that. I don't know if it was you that recommended it, but I read a book, The One Thing. It was Gary Keller, book, and it's a very basic book. It's not a tough read. And it's the same message pounded into your head for 15 chapters or so. Life-changing for me. And I highly recommend it. And I just think most loan officers spend a lot of their time running around doing a lot of things that don't actually require their effort and actually don't turn into new loans.
Yeah.
I don't know how to run AUS. I don't know how to read a tax return. I don't know how to lock a loan. Those are not things that I do.
Yeah.
Anymore. I used to.
Anymore, right? At some point, but anymore.
Yeah, but your capacity is going to run out very quickly if you're doing more things. It's a pretty simple concept.
So when you're doing 45 closings a month, obviously you're having to build rapport. I would say at first I was going to say with just the client, but also with the listing agent to get more deals from them. How do you rapidly get, or how do you get credibility with your buyers and listing agents and the people that you work with so fastly? How do you get that? How do you get that trust?
Yeah, well, today it's probably different than it would be maybe for some people listening, but because for me, honestly, I have momentum, right? So a large way I can attract people or attract them or convince them, that we're worth working with is that, we can say that so many people do and things like that, right? If you're doing 3 or 4 loans a month and you want to get to 10 and 12, how do you do it in that instance? For me, it's always been about hard work. And I think that is very clear. I think, the people that I work with today, they don't see me as someone who is, is hidden and delegates and is just on the golf course all the time. They see me as somebody who works very hard, which is true. I do. I work very hard, and I guess that's very clear to those on the outside. They can tell that. So I think, by being sincere and by working hard, I still call listing agents when offers are made. It's one of the very few things that I do. I can do that because I'm not running AUS, I'm not locking loans, I'm not extending loans, and I'm not reading tax returns. I can do the prospecting and the sales activities, and that's it. So yeah, I think for those people listening, I think it's important that you convey your message, what you're all about, to the people that you're trying to work with. If that's a customer, if that's a realtor, tell them a bit about your story and what makes you. I don't think you need to go on and on about how you've got so many products. I think, look, if you're a loan officer and you are really good at providing advice and strategy, then I think you should let people know that. This is why people choose to work with us. This is what I think I'm very good at. This is how I think I can help you. If that's not what it is and it's something else, then I think that you should be clear about that. That's what I've always done, is just been me. And look, some people like that and some people don't. That's okay. You taught me, I don't need to help every single person. I just need to help the people that want my help. And there's plenty of those people out there.
How do you set yourself apart from your competitors, Kory?
For me, it's largely about strategy, strategy and advice. So, which is going to change based on what the current climate is, right? So, today, having the best product but not having the right strategy is not of much help, because it takes strategy today just to be a buyer and get an accepted offer. In most markets, it takes strategy. It takes being smart about how that offer is presented. So, I get with the realtors that we're working with, whether we know them or we don't, and we talk about how together can we make sure that this offer stands out and gets accepted. I closed a loan last week in 7 days, and okay, so what? A lot of people can close in 7 days. Yeah, it's really not that big of a deal, but it was the right strategy for that situation, and that led to this person getting a $1.6 million beachfront condo that they otherwise would not have gotten. Was the strategy to move quickly? Sure, that's part of it, but the strategy was to be prepared to be fully approved in advance and everything. And look, this is not all that original, but presenting that strategy to those who are potentially going to be involved, selling that strategy to them and making sure that they understand that this is why they choose us and why they work with us I think is everything. So for me, it's about that. The strategy, the advice, is what we sell, what I sell.
And again, you're, being a well-known person that you are in the industry. I know you've told me about this in the past, and I'm sure I'm sure it's a bit, certainly a part of your week where people are reaching out to you. When I say people, like loan officers, not just in your own branch, but throughout the industry, reach out and ask for your opinion, your help with things. What's the number one thing that loan officers are asking you for help with?
Well, I think the number one thing that they want help with is building their volume, and probably the close second is, how can I separate myself? How can I not be shopped so much? That sort of thing. How can I make it so that my job is more being more of an advisor, and maybe these people are coming to me with these questions because specifically they see me as someone who could be helpful. I don't know that that's their number one challenge, but the people that come to me, that's what I hear about a lot. Yeah. So,
So how do you answer that? So I come up to you and I say, "Hey, Kory, man, you're closing 45 loans. I'm stuck at the 2 or 3 or 8 or 12 or whatever that number is. What should I do first?"
Yeah. So, the very first thing I would do is look at how they're sort of structuring their day and also their flow. We were going to today talk about online loan applications. I see that a lot of loan officers are not standing out, not doing things differently, uniquely, and instead are more about, I guess, being, I don't want to say efficient, because being efficient is great, but they're more about just doing things the way everyone else does it. And I think that is a miss. And so, look, if you're getting shopped a whole lot, then, maybe that's your fault, right? I tend to blame myself for everything. And, when something doesn't go the way I wanted to, I go, okay, they did something, someone did something, but what triggered them to do that, And so I usually look at someone's day. I try to figure out what their day looks like. Oftentimes it's, you want to build your volume, but you spend 90% of your day reviewing documents and fixing PDFs so that all the pages are lined up. Look, we just need to spend more time doing the things that actually yield you, return in relationships, and it's pretty simple. Let's take away these tasks that you're doing and replace them with not more golf, but instead more prospecting, right? So that's one of them. But the other one is like, if hey, I'm just constantly getting shopped. It's like, okay, well, let's look at how you are doing your business. How do you do it? Well, someone calls, my assistant answers, tells them to fill out an application. Once they do that, then, I'll call them for 5 minutes and then try to hand them off, which there's nothing wrong with having a team. There is nothing wrong with delegation, but I think you have to be conscious of, how you treat people. And if you treat people in a way that they feel like a number, then I think they might treat you that way. And that means they don't really have a whole lot of apprehension about sending you an email at 10 o'clock at night that says, hey, thanks, but no thanks. We've decided to go somewhere else because, you didn't give them really much time. And I see a lot of entitlement, I think, with loan officers. They canceled on me. I spent so much time on this, how could someone do that to me? One, look, you got in this business understanding that this could happen, but two, understand that they probably did that because of something that you did or didn't do. So with regards to online applications, for example, I feel like I like to give people my time and advice right out of the gate, whether I'm going to be paid for it or not. That's okay. I like to help people. It's one of the reasons I chose to be in this business. So I do loan applications over the phone or in person or on Zoom. They typically take me 45 minutes. I develop a good relationship, I think, quickly with the customer. I can show them, I can demonstrate to them that I know what I'm talking about and that there's value in talking with me. And just going through an application, I typically have people hanging up the phone saying, wow, I really got a lot from this, more than I expected. And I'm looking forward to what else comes from here. Did I spend a time on that? Absolutely. But I feel like it's time worth spending. I feel like if I'm going to send them an online application, that's an awful lot like what Quicken would do. And look, say what you want about Quicken, they lead the industry in originations. Yeah. So if you want to compete with them, have at it. But you're swimming, you're not in the blue ocean, right? You're in the red waters there. And honestly, their technology is pretty good. And, if you're going to try and beat them at that game, I think the odds are stacked against you. So do it differently. Let them get their business. Let them handle the online application business. And instead, you do the business that you want to do, which is the more unique business, the more professional business, the more respected relationship-based business. And so super long answer. We probably ran out of tape, but
no, I got plenty of tape for you. That you're talking about. Don't try to beat the big online lenders at their game. Like if I'm going to challenge Tom Brady, huge Tom Brady fan. I think a lot of people are, but
challenge him at some checkers or something. But
I'm not going to challenge him at throwing football. I can tell you that. I'll put my crossword puzzle skills against him any day of the week.
100%.
But I'm not gonna do football. Hey, let me ask something. So, like, you really seem like you don't seem like it. You do. You really have your act together in your business, and I know you personally, and in your personal life too. If you could take which I guess you could, but like if it wouldn't take any time, and you could gain the knowledge from any class that you wanted, like what's something that you'd really, given unlimited time, what's something that you'd really like to take a class in or study?
There's a lot of things, because I feel like this loan business I know pretty well, but there's a lot of other topics that I could certainly deserve to sharpen up on. I suppose, I'm not a handy person by any means. So I think, learning how to be more handy and having that skill would be nice, because it's pretty embarrassing to not, be able to hang a picture for the most part. So maybe something to do with construction or just handyman skills. I think my wife would appreciate that.
We have so much in common. Sometimes it scares me a little bit. I was just at the bicycle store and I bought a mirror, and I said, well, could you put this on? He said, well, you can just put it on.
Yeah.
I said, brother, you don't understand. I don't own a screwdriver. So I'd have to first go to Home Depot and buy a screwdriver, then I could put it on. So
Yeah.
that's funny. Hey, what do you think? Like, what's your favorite part of all this? Like, on your day-to-day routine? And I'm not asking you like what part of it makes you the most money. And maybe it's
Yeah.
the same answer, but what's your favorite part in all this stuff?
As corny as it's going to sound, is my favorite part really is just helping people.
Yeah.
It's really fun when you work with somebody, a client, even, by the way, even someone who's maybe getting a second opinion, and all you're telling them is to stay on the track that they're on. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy helping people, and a little bit about my sort of background. In high school, I worked in hotels. My best friend's dad was a GM. He gave me my first job. I thought, I like this. I saw what he was doing. He was a GM of a nice hotel. Seemed like a great job to me. So in college, I decided I was going to do that. So I studied hospitality management and business management and thought, I'm going to run a Marriott or something. Just what I thought I was going to do. And so, the several jobs I had in that industry, they were all, being hospitable, right? Taking care of other people. And that's just kind of how I am. If I have people at my house, it's almost hard for me to really enjoy it, because I enjoy helping other people and making sure other people are having a good time. That's where I don't really kind of just sit outside and hang out and soak it all in. Unfortunately, I just enjoy making sure other people are having a good time and that they're taken care of and that they're happy. And so in when it comes to my business, it's kind of the same thing. It's, I really enjoy telling people, hey, yeah, you're on the right track, or, no, I don't think you are. I think you need to change this or that. And this is how I would recommend you do it based on these certain things. And that part's awesome for me. So the loan consultations, one, it's a good way for me to solidify a relationship, but I also enjoy it. I mean, if I've got 12 meetings in a day and they're all with clients, new clients, talking to them about how they could maybe make this happen for themselves and their family, like that's a great day for me. Honestly, I enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Probably pretty strange.
Hey, give me an action item. So and maybe it's something that we've already said. Maybe it's something different. Like if I'm at 3 or 4 closings and I want to improve, tell me something to do. Give me a very specific action item.
Well, for me, it was really about diving into those 3 or 4 and finding out how I can get 3 or 4 more. So I used to watch, Tim Brahim on Friday nights, and his videos and stuff, and cross-selling the financial advisor and all that. And I do that today. I enjoy doing that. It has created a lot of business for me. It's a good amount of work, and it doesn't always turn into business, but it always is a good thing to do, because genuinely I'm doing it partly because I want to meet new people, but also because I want to help people too. So, if you're a client of mine and I know that you're about to get, a request from my assistant for 300 documents because you're self-employed, and I can help you by calling your CPA and taking 2 of those things off the list, then I'm helping you, and I like to help people. So I think that if I was doing 3 or 4 loans a month right now, and I wasn't diving into the client's network and the realtor's network, then I just think that is a huge miss. And what I commonly see is that people want to get more business. And so they decide they're going to rent a conference room, and they're going to put on a seminar, and they're going to put on a radio ad or a social media ad, and they're going to invite 100 strangers into their room and try and convince them to do business with them. Look, that's a great thing to do. And I think that that's fun and interesting. And I've done some of that myself. But to do that before, you've already gone to the people that like you, and gone to their network and sifted through that, is just a miss for me. And I think there's something with salespeople that we like to go get the fresh business or something. We say, okay, I've got this client here that loves us. But instead of calling them and asking them to refer somebody, I would rather try to convince this complete stranger that I don't know to work with me. I don't know why we do that as salespeople, but it must be because psychologically we think that is a more challenging kill. I guess I don't know, but that's what I would say to someone who's doing 3 or 4 loans a month. I promise you, there's more business inside of that and inside of those loans, and you just have to look for it and ask and take the appropriate actions. But I'll tell you, a lot of this is really simple, Carl. I'd love to make it seem like it's really difficult and only I can do it, but that's not the case. It's just a matter of doing the work. And so much of this is in your coaching program. It's just a matter of doing the work. It's like why you created Call Stars. It's like, fine, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to charge you money if you don't, because then you'll actually do it, right? And the results have been tremendous from that. So find the people that like you and say to them, hey, you know anyone I can help? It's a big miss if you're not doing it.
Yeah. I think that, and we've talked about that 100 times here on the podcast, or it seemed like 100 times, that people are so afraid to ask for business, like they're bugging people or being a pest, or I always hate it. I'm begging for business, and it's just absolute crap. Hey, I see we're at the top of the hour. I want to ask you one more question, though. This is one of my favorite questions I ask pretty often on here, and I love hearing the different answers. So the president of the United States calls you, whoever he or she is.
Okay,
right?
I was going to say which one. Okay.
Yeah, whichever. Yeah. I always want to qualify that. So whoever he or she is calls you up. They're working on a special project, and they need your expertise. What are they calling you for, Kory? What are you bringing to the table that they're in so desperate of a need for?
Well, they're probably calling me because they want me to present a particular topic to someone that they know, and they want me to help illustrate why that is a good thing and the ins and outs of it. And they want me to do it in a way that is honest, that is compelling, that is professional. I think that's probably why they're tapping on my shoulder. What I hear from clients a lot is that I have the ability to take something that can seem very complicated and make it very simple. So I think that's probably why the president's calling.
Yeah, that's brother, I couldn't agree with you more. You're a great communicator, and you're and again, you would never say this because you're too humble to, but you're a very powerful person, yet you come across, which is exactly who you are, as a very gentle, just a nice person. Like you're just like, people just like hanging out with you. You're a great communicator. So brother, I thank you so much. Number one, it's an honor to have you as one of the coaches in the Freedom Club, and you're very kind to give me accolades. I've learned at least as much from you. I promise you that, and we both know that's true. You'll deflect that, but we both know that's true. And I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you coming in here and kind of letting us get in the mind of a 45 closings per month loan officer's mind, and what makes you tick. And hey, I'm going to add one last question. What's and take your humble hat off here. What's your secret sauce?
It's working hard. I mean, it's not, in this market right now, I'm working to make the 45 loans, right? It's not that isn't just happening. We're working to do that. And, it would be easy, I think, particularly maybe for me, to say, okay, this is a bit of a slower time. Now is the time for me to, catch up on my golf game, or, sleep in a little later, maybe get home a little earlier. And, I'm not doing that. I'm always working hard. If it's busy, I'm working hard. If it's not, I'm working hard to make it busy. And that's one thing that drives me is my team. They show up every day, every month. They show up, and it's not fair to me to take some time off and make a dent in their income while I take a break. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's working hard. Working hard does not mean you have to do everything. It just means that I take the duties that I have very seriously, and I work hard on them. I do my part, and I do it well, and I'm not letting up, even though, maybe the market's more challenging, or there's less out there, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So
Good stuff, man. Hey, thanks a lot, Kory. I really appreciate you, brother. You're just an awesome dude, and it's an honor to be a part of your world. And thanks for the great chat today.
I appreciate it, Carl. And you can keep this part or you can cut it out, but there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think that I'm blessed to have been introduced to you and to your firm, because it made a huge change. And the reason I can tell that story as well as I do is because I tell it all the time. It was a pivotal time in my career. I was doing well before, but it took me to a whole new level and gave me a whole new perspective on my business and life and family and all sorts of things. So thanks for what you're doing. I appreciate it. I appreciate it personally. I know many people out there watching this also appreciate it. So thank you.
All right, brother. All right, thanks a lot, Kory. I appreciate you, my man, and I'll talk to you soon. And for our listeners, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll talk to you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. All right, Kory. Well, I appreciate your kind words so much. And hey, for our listeners, boy, action is the first symptom of desire. Action is the first symptom of desire. If you're wanting to, or when you're ready to move up and look to see what do I need to do to increase my mortgage business, and how can I do it without all the craziness? We would love to map out to you and show you the exact same plan that Kory and I share with other Freedom Club members, and even himself, and frankly myself. It's the plan that I use to grow my little mortgage empire here, and it's the exact same plan we do for our Freedom Club members. If you just go to freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com, we'll actually do a 45-minute actual coaching call with you at no charge whatsoever. I always thought, if you want to demonstrate you can help people, what's the best way to do it is to, actually help them, right? So as simple as that might sound, it seems like a lot of people miss that part. So I'd like to demonstrate how much we can help you on one simple call. There's no charge of this. It's not a sales pitch. It's I want to impress upon you, and frankly, help you impress upon yourself what you're going to accomplish in one 45-minute call. freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com. We get a lot of requests for this. So if you push back a little bit, go ahead and get in line right now, and so that you can have your call as soon as possible. freedomclubdemo.com. We'll talk to you when you call in, and we'll see you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye. Talk to you when you call in.